So, hi, Nick. Thank you very much for being here and welcome to Beyond the Edge podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to join.
So, let's start with our very first question, which is specifically about your career. So, you have more than 25 years of experience working in some of the major world's top outlets, including Financial Times, BBC, The Guardian. So, I'm assuming you have long worked with PR professionals. So the question is, what's your relationship with them and how do you typically handle those interactions?
Sure. Yeah, I've always since I got into some work with PR people. I mean, it's changed a bit, but the essentials and what I look for in PRs hasn't really changed. Just to give you a bit of context, because I'm getting old now. I've been in journalism about over 25 years, and when I first started working in journalism in the UK in business trade magazines for some big trade magazines, starting at Accountancy Age, I had sort of daily contact with PRs, and I was a news reporter, and I was a cub reporter, as we called it. I was just learning the core skills of journalism, and we sort of worked closely, or we'd have a lot of contact with PRs. They'd phone up. In those days, it was phoning a lot as well as emailing. They'd pitch us story ideas, and there'd be a lot of kind of social events or getting to know the press officers or the PRs. Probably more face-to-face reaction, which was probably useful and probably meant the quality of PR and PR pitches was good, or a bit better maybe than now. And now I still speak, as I've gone through my career in the trade press and then the national media, working for a Financial Newswire and then The Guardian before going freelance. I've still had a lot of contact with PRs, but now it's less face-to-face, and now the journalism I do is mainly for the Financial Times, specialising in technology. And the main thing I look from PRs is help with case studies, with finding the right people to interview, which can be difficult, and then seeing if they can clarify things or give me background information or help manage the clients. Yeah, that's it really, I think.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the second questions, which is pretty related to the first one. I think you work with big companies, but also small companies, maybe startups, scale-ups, which often aspire to be featured in tier one media outlets as if it was the only way to gain credibility and visibility with stakeholder and investor. But I'm thinking, what are your thoughts on this? And what is your opinion on the role of vertical media?
I mean, that's a good question, a good point, because I think often the trade press or the specialist media, however you want to describe it, is overlooked by companies. They get obsessed and fixated on coverage in the national media, and sometimes they're not ready for the national media. Some of these companies, even though they can be quite big, struggle to explain in simple language what they do, why they're different to other competitors. They don't really understand what journalists are looking for or what they can provide to journalists, whether that's expert comment or a case study. And they'd be better off focusing on the trade media. It's a bit easier to build working relations with the reporters. It can still be hard to get in the trade press, but the nature of the trade press generally means that they can run more technical stories than the national media would usually run, and you can sort of learn on the job. You can get more. You can start to get coverage in the trade press, and actually your customers or prospective customers, or the other people in the industry, analysts or consultants who you might want to influence or reach, might be reading these trade magazines more than certain national media you're targeting.
Exactly. And we have been talking about clients and companies right now. So switching off to PR professional, what do you think they should have, like soft skills? Talking about, I mean, empathy, respect for journalist time, or anything that comes to your mind.
Well, soft skills. I guess one of the key things I think is just a natural curiosity. Just as any good journalist will have a curiosity to find more out about the world, or how an industry works, or how companies work, and how the world's changing. I think that's quite underrated, actually. See, a good communicator, talker, and writer. And I think what do I mean by a good writer? Well, I think as PRs are often dealing with or acting as an intermediary between their clients and the journalists, they need to handle their clients or manage the egos of clients, but also write stories in a way that journalists can relate to. So I think I always often advise PR clients when I do commercial work with them that's independent to my journalism, or work with companies on content or media consulting. I often say, look, when you're trying to improve media coverage, you need to sort of do three things. You need to sort of think like a journalist, pitch like a journalist, and write like a journalist. Although, hopefully you'll be paid better than the average journalist. You really just need to sort of put yourself in the mindset or the shoes of a journalist, and stop writing for your company marketing department and pitch things that a journalist and their audience will be interested in.
Yeah, I totally agree. And my last question actually is pretty connected to that. So if you should list some do's and don'ts for PR agencies or PR professional, and what should we always keep in mind before pitching you as a journalist?
Yeah, I thought there's a couple of do's and don'ts. First of all, I know this sounds really obvious, and good PRs and press officers will do this instinctively, but not all do. Perhaps sometimes because of pressure from the clients. The first question is, ask yourself, is this really newsworthy? Is this a strong news story for the journalist? So be honest. Often it's not. And often I get the sense that the story pitches, press releases I'm sent are just sent by PRs because they've got pressure from the client, and they've got monthly quotas to meet for outreach, and it's BS really. It's just a waste of time. Wasting the time of the client, it's wasting the time of the PR agency, and it's wasting the time of journalists.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's perhaps the main one. And then another common sense one, but it's easy to forget when there's a lot of pressure. Just research the journalist, what stories they're interested in, are there any follow-up story ideas you could pitch or interviews, and just research the publication. When you send the story pitch or interview pitch, just keep it simple. 3 to 5 short paragraphs, bullet points. Just think of it as a teaser, an aperitif. It doesn't have to be the whole 3 courses, 5 courses. You just provide enough information to ask them, to get them wanting more, and write it in really simple language. And then in terms of follow-ups, it's fine to follow up a couple of times by email if you think it's a strong news pitch, but don't overdo it. Send a couple of follow-ups by email, and then if it's a time sensitive or really strong exclusive story, it's okay to call them or send them an email along the lines of, I understand you're really busy, but and I'm not sure if you read my story pitch, interview pitch, but I think we're offering it you as an exclusive. We think it's a really good news idea. But if you're not interested, and I don't hear back from you by the end of the day, I'll take it elsewhere. So give them a bit of a deadline, because sometimes journalists get sidetracked on other stories, or they think, oh, this PR can wait until I'm ready, and you need to sort of add a bit of urgency. So those are, I think, the main do's. I'm just thinking about the don'ts. Yeah, don't overdo the follow-ups, particularly if it's a really bland and generic story. So don't call, WhatsApp, and don't send the same generic news pitch to dozens or hundreds of other media titles. And I see ones which are clearly written to, that they're written to me and as a freelancer, and they say, Nick, would your publication be interested in this? Or would your colleagues, as if I'm a magazine editor or something. So they clearly just haven't done the research. If you are sending an exclusive news pitch or story idea, send it to ideally one journalist, one publication, possibly two if they're not competing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, don't promise something unless you can deliver it. It's only happened a couple of times. Well, once when I was writing a story for national media, it was a business story, a national newspaper. I was writing a business story and it was going quite well, and I was working with a PR agency on a case study, and the case study was really integral to the story. And I said to the PR when I was researching the story, right, okay, this is guaranteed then, this case study, I'll tell my editor.
Yeah.
And then the PR sort of said yes. PR came back and said, oh, sorry, we've got problems with the client. And I got back, I called them and said, you need to make this happen, because the story is going to sort of collapse otherwise, and they did. But that's an awful feeling as a journalist.
Yes.
And I know things happen with clients, but don't promise something, a case study or a key interview, unless you know you can follow through.
100% sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Nick. It was very nice and useful, since I am from the other side. So it's it's very useful to, as you were saying, face-to-face occasion are always less. So it's very useful to find some time to speak with journalists, understand their needs, and their trying to get the relationship work as best as we can.
Yeah. Oh, there was just a couple of other things maybe about the sort of one other thing to be aware of, the do's and don'ts, and perhaps one other about how PR agencies work with their clients. I mean, the thing about, I'd say, be very wary how you use AI and generative AI. By all means, you can use it for brainstorming, for research, for analysing lots of media coverage or market data, but I've started to get some pitches which are clearly written by AI, or if I'm looking to interview an expert, I'll ask them a question over email before a call, and then they'll just send me, I asked AI and this is the answer. Don't do that, because I want your deep expertise and lived experience. So don't think AI can solve problems for you or write all your news pitches without you editing them heavily, because often it'll just be recycling old information. You'd have better information if you brainstormed in your team or talked with your clients, and it can come across as a bit generic. And the other thing I'd say with PR agencies, and the good PR agencies do these, and the senior PR executives I know and respect and sometimes friends with are good at this, but push back to your clients. Don't give your clients unrealistic expectations, or allow them to develop unrealistic expectations about, that they can get the front page of the Financial Times or Wall Street Journal, or be featured on CNN just because they've got some minor software product upgrade. And make sure that you've got access to your clients regularly. A lot of the problems, sometimes when I work on a commercial basis with clients separate to my journalism, or with corporate clients, PR agencies, and we talk about how they interact with their clients, I'm amazed at how badly their clients treat them. and how little information or access the clients give them. And so when the PR agencies are trying to come up with story ideas, they've just got these crumbs from the table, and they're trying to work out what the client thinks about something. And so it's very difficult. They're trying to mind read. I think that's maybe starting to change, but I think it's a common problem. The clients, and maybe it's like this in other industries, but the clients tend to like to push around the suppliers, including PR agencies, and sometimes it's borderline bullying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's completely true. It's very difficult, and what we always try to do is, try to pass the importance of finding the balance between what you need to do and what it's actually interesting for the people, for journalists, and for your audience, which should be the client's first priority.
Yeah, sure, you've got to. The PRs are they're a kind of intermediary. They've got to keep the clients happy and journalists happy, and it's hard. But to me, a really good, clear PR is someone, if there's a problem with a story, or I need a clear explanation or something else, they can say, right, they can give me some background information, non-attributable information, or they can say, look, I know the client's been a nightmare about this, I can handle it. They've got the confidence to do that and to push back to the client in a tactful way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Nick. I don't know if there is anything else you'd like to add or to share with us.
That's fine, thanks.